Hello friends, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365, and today I'm going to give you my top 10 most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from Disney animated films. If you're new to the channel, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification. You can also find me over Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Movie Guy 365. Okay, continuing my series of most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from a particular studio. This time I will be focusing on Disney and their animated library. I did a previous video focusing on Disney's live action offerings, which I will go ahead and link at the end of this one, so check that one out if you're interested. Disney has a huge catalog of animated features that would look absolutely fantastic on 4K and have only been previously released on DVD and Blu-ray, but with Disney's recent, I would say, restructuring of their physical format releases, the likelihood of actually seeing a lot of these titles come out on 4K seems to be unlikely as opposed to other studios. While we can sit there and wish list all day long for a lot of, Sony and Warner Brothers titles, Disney, I feel, is the one studio that is really kind of up in the air as far as we're getting any kind of releases in the future. With that being said, I still want to put together my 4K Blu-ray wish list for the Disney animated libraries, and like all my videos, this is going to be my particular list. It'll be very subjective. Your list will of course be different, but I encourage you, please, in the comments section below, let me know what you would put on your top 10. Okay, with that being said, let's jump right in. My number 10 most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from Disney Animated, that is going to go to The Jungle Book. It's a classic film, of course. The animation is pretty spectacular, and it's just one of those movies that I think would look really good with the HDR benefits. I know they did the live action version directed by Jon Favreau, and that is available on 4K. But hey, why not put the original classic on the format? I think it would look great. Hopefully an upgraded audio mix would also sound fantastic. But yeah, who wants to see that entire environment on 4K? I think a lot of people would agree with me. So yes, The Jungle Book should absolutely be available on 4K Blu-ray. My number 9 is going to be the classic, the original Snow White. That absolutely should be on 4K. I remember when the DVD first came out, it was such a huge deal in the collectors community that this was getting a DVD release, and I don't think anybody was disappointed. Back then, the colors look great. Imagine what a 4K restoration would absolutely shine on the format. I get really excited thinking about the possibilities of seeing the original Snow White on 4K. It would be amazing. It would just be Disney history, holding it in your hand. Absolutely fantastic. I hope we get Snow White one day. I'm hopeful that this will arrive at some point. But yes, Snow White for the original, the first Disney animated feature, definitely deserves a place on 4K. My number 8 is one of the quote-unquote newer options that the Disney Animated Library has that isn't available on 4K, and that is The Emperor's New Groove. One, I feel this is a very underrated Disney animated film. I think there was a little bit of trouble behind the scenes that kind of made its way out into the public spotlight, and I feel it kind of hurt the film, but it's actually really great. It has iconic characters. David Spade is awesome as Kuzco, and of course Patrick Warburton, I think really one of the roles that kind of put him on the map. Eartha Kitt, John Goodman. This is a great cast, and the film is actually fantastic. I think it would look amazing on 4K. It would take that South American tropical look to it and really bring out the colors. I think the HDR would do this film wonders, and an upgraded Atmos track, hopefully, would also just put this one over the top. The Emperor's New Groove, really, if you haven't seen it, watch it. But Disney, if you're listening, put this one out on 4K. I think the visibility would do it great and would just make an awesome film to watch on the format. My number 7 is Alice in Wonderland. If you're a fan of the movie and you are a 4K collector, imagine what HDR would do to the picture of this film. This is inherently a colorful movie. Those reds, those blues, the greens, pinks, purples, all those colors are rendered very well just on your standard Blu-ray. But what a difference HDR would do to the picture of this. The 4K, I think, would look absolutely stunning. This is a movie that is on a lot of people's favorites list. It's got a very interesting story, and just visually, I think this is screaming for a 4K edition. Oh man, I'm just getting excited thinking about it. This one needs a 4K Blu-ray, just really yesterday. And honestly, I think a lot of people would agree that Alice in Wonderland should get a 4K release. My number 6 is the classic animated film Cinderella. The live action version that was directed by Kenneth Branagh is available on 4K Blu-ray. Well, just like the Jungle Book, why not put the original, the animated feature on 4K Blu-ray? I think the overall palette would just look fantastic. HDR would bring out a lot of the magical elements from when the fairy godmother is transforming Cinderella, and just the overall colorful aspects of the film would benefit greatly as well. This is a feature that would be on a lot of people's top 10 lists just as Disney animated features go. But for 4K release, Cinderella, a nice soundtrack, an upgraded audio mix, and HDR, this would put this one over and I think would be well deserved on the format. For my number 5 pick, I'm going to go with Bambi. Bambi as a film has a lot of emotion behind it. It's one of those movies that is iconic in the studio's library, and the movie itself is like a painting. It is so beautiful. There's a lot of those colorful landscapes and just the environments and the overall look of the film. A 4K release, I think, would just bring this whole thing to another level. It's not one that you would watch all the time due to the subject matter, but why not watch it on the best format available? 4K would look great. HDR, I think, would just really put you into the middle of the overall palette of the film. I hope we get a Bambi 4K. This is just, for me, essentially, that has to be on the format at one point. So yes, for that reason, Bambi is my number 5. My number 4 is one of the newer on my list, as well as very underrated, and that is Meet the Robinsons. I actually really like this one. This one, I feel, is just overlooked by a lot of Disney animated fans. It has actually a very decent Blu-ray and a 3D Blu-ray, but why not put this on 4K? This is a very colorfully striking movie. There's a lot going on also story-wise. There's time travel, there's sci-fi, there's some great comedy, and the animation is actually very good for the era that it was produced in. There's a lot going for this movie. I think it definitely should be watched by more people, but I think HDR would really put this one over. A Dolby Atmos upgrade would also just, really be the cherry on top. If you haven't seen it, watch it on Blu-ray. It is fantastic. Meet the Robinsons, great cast, animation, actually a very decent soundtrack as it stands. But yes, a 4K release of this movie, in my opinion, would be fantastic. For my number 3, that is going to go to Disney's Hercules. I remember when this one came out on DVD, I was in my sophomore era of home theater design, and I remember being very impressed by the surround sound of this film. It was very heavy. That was back when Disney did great audio experiences. But for me, this is also a very enjoyable movie. Yeah, it has a little bit of a different style of animation, but imagine the look an HDR10 picture would bring to this movie. And an Atmos upgrade done properly, this would be fantastic. This, in my opinion, would be reference home theater material, and I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. I think it's pretty awesome, and it did spawn off a TV series. But yeah, Disney's Hercules, I think a 4K upgrade would be most welcome. My number 2 is going to the Disney animated classic, Sleeping Beauty. If you're a fan of the movie, a 4K release, I feel, would just be completely mind-blowing. I remember being very impressed by the DVD. The Blu-ray looks great as well, but imagine what HDR would do to the picture on this one. Those black levels would just be very deep. The colors, wow. I think the colors would absolutely shine on this. And the overall cleanliness of the picture with the 4K resolution upgrade would just really be just completely overwhelming. This would be an absolute fantastic 4K edition. An upgraded audio mix would also be most welcome, but really visually, this needs to be seen on 4K. This is a beautiful looking movie, so why not put it on the best format available? So yes, Sleeping Beauty would be my number 2. Before I get to my number 1, just a couple of quick honorable mentions. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. I think this is another underrated Disney classic. It also has some great animation to it. The burning of Paris would look fantastic on HDR. I know it's kind of an awful thing to say, but really, I think the visual palette on this one would look spectacular on 4K, and in my opinion, it would really give this movie a lot of well-deserved love, and hopefully we see it one day on the format. Also an honorable mention, Lilo and Stitch. This one I almost made my top 10 list, but I feel that I still wanted to give it some recognition. There's a lot visually here that is pretty spectacular, and also it's a very decent soundtrack. I think an upgraded Atmos, an HDR10 picture would really just do this one justice, and there's a big fan base behind this movie, so I think a 4K would sell actually really well. And finally, I couldn't leave this one out, the animated classic Dumbo. We do have Tim Burton's live action version, which is available on 4K, but once again, put the animated original on the format. This is a beautiful looking movie. While it's not as, animated as well as something like Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella, there's still a lot of visual pop here, which I think would benefit greatly on the format. And it's such a touching movie. Imagine Baby Mine just really coming to life with an updated audio mix. This one, I think, just for more sentimental reasons, but I think a lot of people would agree that Dumbo should be on 4K. And my number one most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray from Disney Animation, this is going to go to Fantasia and Fantasia 2000. This is, in my opinion, essentially needed on 4K. The visual palettes on both versions of the film look fantastic as it stands on Blu-ray. But imagine what HDR would do for this particular pair of films. I think visually, it would just melt your eyeballs. It would look fantastic. And just put it on the best format available. There is absolutely an audience for this one. And imagine a Dolby Atmos upgrade for both of these versions. This one, I feel, is made for the formats. It's one, in my opinion, of Disney's most visually pleasing offerings. This one, in my opinion, is worthy of my number one. So yes, Fantasia 2000 is my most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray from Disney Animation. So that was my top 10 most wanted 4K Ultra HD Blu-rays from Disney Animation. This, in my opinion, was one of the tougher lists to put together. There's so many great Disney animated films in their library that would look great on 4K. But yeah, these are my top 10, but I also want to hear from you in the comment section below. What would you put on your top 10 most wanted? So sound off in the comments section. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. So until next time, this is Adam with Movie Guy 365. I will see you at the movies.